The sun rose over Tenochtitlan. It always did. But for the people living beneath it, that sunrise was never guaranteed. Every single morning, the Aztec world held its breath. Because according to the priests, the gods had made a deal with humanity. And humanity had to keep paying. In blood, in flesh, in lives. This is not the story of a glorious empire. This is the story of what it actually felt like to live inside one. Welcome to the Aztec Empire. And it was terrible. Let us go back. The year is 1400. The Triple Alliance, Tenochtitlan, Texcoco, and Tlacopan, has begun its brutal rise across the Valley of Mexico. The Mexica people, once wandering nomads dismissed by their neighbors, have built a city on a lake that will eventually stun the Spanish conquistadors into silence. Hernán Cortés, when he first saw Tenochtitlan in 1519, reportedly wept. His soldiers thought they were dreaming, but beauty and terror have always lived side by side. Start with the fear. Not abstract fear, the kind that settles into your bones before you are old enough to understand why. Aztec children were raised inside a cosmology of collapse. The universe their priests taught had already been destroyed 4 times. 4 suns had lived and died. The 5th sun, their sun, the one hanging in the sky right now, was alive only because the gods had sacrificed themselves at the dawn of creation. And in return, humanity owed a debt that could never be fully repaid. What was the currency of that debt? Human hearts, ripped from living chests, held up still beating toward the sun. This was not metaphor. This was calendar. The Aztec ritual calendar, the Tonalpohualli, scheduled sacrifices across the year with bureaucratic precision. The festival of Tlacaxipehualistli, the flaying of men, required prisoners to be sacrificed and their skin worn by priests for 20 days. The festival of Etzalcoatlistli demanded drowning victims for the rain god Tlaloc. Children, young children, toddlers, were sometimes chosen because their tears were believed to bring rain. More tears meant more water. More suffering meant more crops. If you were a common Aztec citizen, the Macahualtan, you did not choose your place in this system. It was chosen for you. You lived in a tightly controlled calpulli, a ward or neighborhood unit that governed your land rights, your taxes, your occupation, and your obligations to the state. You farmed, you built, you carried. The empire ran on your back, your labor, and your tribute. And if the harvest failed, if the rains did not come, you might sell yourself into slavery just to feed your children. Slavery in the Aztec world was not inherited the way it would be in later colonial systems. Your children were born free. That was something. But you yourself could spend years in bondage, working off debt, serving a master, existing at the margins of a world that had simply run out of room for you at its center. Now imagine you are not Aztec at all. Imagine you are Tlaxcalan, or Totonac, or one of the dozens of peoples the Triple Alliance has conquered, absorbed, and crushed beneath its administrative weight. Your city is now a tributary state. Every year, your people send cocoa, cotton, feathers, jade, gold, and human beings to Tenochtitlan. The quantities are recorded on tribute lists, the Codex Mendoza surviving as a kind of empire-wide invoice for suffering. Thousands of cloaks, thousands of bushels, hundreds of warriors handed over for the killing stone. Because the empire did not just wage war to conquer, it waged war to collect. The Aztecs invented something historians call the Flower Wars, the Xochiaoyotl. These were not wars of total destruction. They were ritualized conflicts designed specifically to capture prisoners alive. 2 armies would meet, often on pre-agreed ground. The goal was not to kill your enemy. The goal was to grab him by the hair, drag him from the field, and bring him home breathing, because a dead man on a battlefield was useless. A living man on the sacrificial stone was everything. Warriors were ranked by their captures. 1 prisoner made you a tequihua, a recognized warrior. 4 prisoners elevated your status to Quachik, the shock troops of the Aztec military. The entire honor culture of Aztec masculinity was built on the question of how many living men you had personally handed to the priests, and what happened to those men. They were treated well, for a while, fed, housed, sometimes given women. The Aztecs believed a worthy sacrifice required a worthy victim, A broken, starving prisoner was an insult to the gods. So they fattened you up. They dressed you in the finery of the deity you were about to become. They told you that you were not dying but transforming. That death on the stone was the most glorious end a warrior could achieve. Some prisoners believed it. Some walked up those temple stairs willingly. Most did not. At the top of the great temple, the Templo Mayor, twin pyramids rising 70 meters above the lake city, the priest waited with an obsidian blade. The victim was bent backward over a stone. The blade moved. The chest opened. The heart came out. It was placed in a stone vessel called the calpulli, the eagle bowl, and burned. The body was thrown down the steps. It is estimated that between 20,000 and 250,000 people were sacrificed in the Aztec world each year. Historians debate the exact numbers, but no one debates the practice. For the commoner watching from below, this was not horror. This was maintenance. The sun had to be fed. Without sacrifice, it would stop moving. The crops would die. The world would end. For the fifth and final time, the priests did not frame this as cruelty. They framed it as responsibility. And that is perhaps the most unsettling thing of all. The suffering was not incidental to Aztec civilization. It was structural. It was theological. It was the price of the sky staying in place. Even if you survived the wars, survived the tribute, survived the famines that struck the Valley of Mexico with regular brutality, 1450 was the year of one rabbit, a catastrophic drought and famine that killed hundreds of thousands. Even then, life ground on with relentless demands. Taxes paid in labor, mandatory military service, ritual obligations that consumed time, energy, and sometimes blood. Even ordinary ceremonies required personal bloodletting, from the earlobes, the tongue, the thighs, as a private offering to gods who were never quite satisfied. Hernán Cortés arrived in 1519 and found a world primed to collapse under its own weight. The subject peoples, the Tlaxcalans, the Totonacs, the Cholulans, did not rally to defend the empire that had bled them dry. Many of them joined the Spanish, not because they trusted the strangers from across the ocean, but because the strangers were pointing their weapons at Tenochtitlan. The empire fell in 1521, 2 years of siege, disease, and betrayal. Cuauhtémoc, the last Aztec emperor, was captured and later executed. The city that had made conquistadors weep was reduced to rubble. A new city, Mexico City, was built directly on top of it. And here is what echoes forward. Every empire in history has told its people that suffering is necessary, that the gods demand it, that the machine requires fuel, that the price of civilization is paid by those at the bottom. The Aztecs simply said it out loud. They built the altar in the center of the city, at the top of the tallest pyramid, in full view of everyone, and they put the beating heart on display for the sun to see. The sun rose again the next morning. It always did. The question every civilization must eventually answer is this: who decides what the sun costs, and who pays the bill?